Hey everyone, this is Mr. Stewart here with the assignment video for week 7. Alright, so if you do this assignment in Pencil or in Maya, you're going to want to start with your sound in Maya. So let's import in our sound. So you go to File, Import, and find your WAV file I've made one of those for you. It should be in your student folder. And you'll import that in, and you might see some things happen on the timeline, you might not. And so this little squiggly line represents your sound. Now, if it's not there, then just right-click on the timeline and go to Sound, and you can pick one of these options. It might be nothing. If it's a line like that, it's probably track sounds. Then you just go to find your sound file, and you can rearrange the timeline to fit. And then when you play, good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck, then it will play your sound. Now, one thing about animation is we get to hear the same piece of audio over and over and over again. So that will be a really exciting surprise for all of you. So, all right, so when you're scrubbing through here, your timeline, you can hear your sound. So if you can kind of write out on a piece of paper the words that you're saying, and then make notes basically about the shapes that you're going to make. And I'm going to bring up Pencil to kind of demonstrate. I'm just going to draw on a single frame, but so if I write out good luck, and you can do this on a sketchbook, it doesn't need to be in Pencil, it can just be anywhere that you're making those notes. So I know that I'm going to need to make a kind of a G shape. So if I kind of look in a mirror or I record myself, I can say, you know, good luck. And I kind of figure out the mouth shapes that are going to go along with those words. So I'm going to do kind of my mouth closed, my teeth together, and then I'm going to do maybe a kind of an ooh shape. And then kind of come back up to that mouth shape, maybe a little bit further to one side. And this is where I'll probably, try to maybe put the tongue in there a little bit. And then I'll get a bigger mouth shape for luck. Kind of the teeth. Tongue back in there. And kind of come back up for the C and the K. So these are my basic shapes, and this is kind of where you start. So if I know what those basic shapes are and they're going to hit on certain syllables or vowels in the word, then I can go back to Maya and I can find the frame where I'm going to want those mouth shapes. So, and it's a good idea to hit a frame early rather than a frame late. You can actually hit 2 frames early sometimes and it's okay. So if I know my ooh is going to be around frame 8, then I can go and put in frame 8. I'll probably want this then to be frame 6. So I'm going to get luck probably about frame, what was that, 13 or 12. So I'll probably do 13, maybe frame 10 or 11. Let's try 11. And then so I'm going to do frame 17 on the end here. So this gives me now a roadmap and really my timing to get, let's kind of erase that there. This gives me my roadmap for my mouth shapes that I'm going to make. Now I'm going to go back to Maya and I'm going to do the assignment in Maya first, and then I'll come back and explain it in Pencil. So if you're going to do it in Pencil, at this point you'll be able to, you can skip ahead in the video and I'll tell you what minute to skip ahead to in an email. But let's go back to Maya and import in in fact, you'll want to import in the face rig. So it's going to be in my directory here. Now the reason you want to import it in is because you want to keep your sound. If you open it, you can always import your sound back in, and that's fine. So now I'm going to go to those frames that I've figured out, and I'm going to start with frame 6, and I'm going to grab all of the controls. I'm going to go to frame 6, and I'm going to set a key. Now these controls, I'll go through them quickly, and I like to turn everything off, go to show, and then only show NURBS curves and polygons. And that's going to show you pretty much everything you need and not get things in the way. And you can see that I've already set some keys on some nodes that maybe I don't want to. So, but now I can go in there and with just those things displayed, set a key, and now I've got my keys showing. So this main big control is going to rotate his head. So you can move his head kind of around where you want it. These controls on the side are going to rotate his ears. If you grab that inner circle, it'll rotate the tip. And then if you want to move the eyes, you can just move them around, and wherever you move this sort of glasses shape, the eyes will follow. And if you need to rotate them individually, you can grab those circles and make them a little cross-eyed. These sort of half-moon shapes over his eyes, that will give you the ability to make him blink. And the way you work this is you go over here to the channel box. You want to make sure that this tab, channel box, layer editor, is on. And then you highlight the piece that you want to use, and then you middle mouse, drag, click, hold it down, and drag it in the window. Now you can always enter in, if you don't want to do it that way, you can always enter in values with the number pad and make it work. You can do that with any of the controls that you need to use the channel box. This control down here is his jaw, and you can do anything you want in terms of, it's open with all of the controls. You can rotate it, you can translate it, move it around, and you can even scale it and make it bigger or smaller. Sometimes that works well when you're wanting to do something from profile. Okay, so let me set the eyes here, Now the biggest control, and before I get to that, let me just jump in here to the tongue. So there are controls to rotate the tongue. You can scale and rotate the tongue. The very last control at the bottom is going to be kind of locked out. So if you want to get rid of the tongue, it's really kind of easy to just kind of pull it back in, just kind of scale it in. In fact, if you grab all of them, you can just kind of scale it back in there, and it's going to kind of go further away in there. And then, so that helps with certain mouth shapes, TH, L, things that you need your tongue to make. Then there's this one control right over his head. What this does is it stretches the mask and the top of the head and squashes it down, so you can kind of move that around. And then this control right at the top, this sort of rectangle control right there, this is going to give you a lot of controls. And if you go over here and you scroll through, it's going to give you controls for his face. So shapes for his face. All right, so let me close the jaw. And kind of reset him. All right, so now if we go in here and you click on one of these things and you can do left and right individually, and you can see that that tongue is going to have to be moved. So you'll want to go in there and find ways to get it from not poking through his skin there. And then you can go through and now start to make those face shapes. Some of these are going to create specific shapes, and some of them are going to work with the jaw. And you kind of have to just play around with them to get an idea of what they'll do. So I know I want his mouth open just a little bit, and he doesn't have teeth, but I caution you to use a little restraint, because sometimes it's easy to go in there and just start mixing in a bunch of different shapes. Okay, this works really well. It kind of opens it up, and I like how this kind of pulls it back in. If you have a lot of values going on at the same time, sometimes you'll get some interesting in-betweens that look a little bit broken. But usually you can put in a little values on certainly an expression, smile or frown, and then on a what we call a phoneme, or something that's regarding how the mouth talks, or what the words are. And so you can put a little value there, and then we have this control here that'll squash and stretch his whole lower face. So if you want to get a little bit of movement on that, you can do that as well. And then pull that tongue up. Okay, so now I've set a key on all of the controls there. Now I'm going to go to the next frame I want. I'm going to set a key on all of those controls again. And then I'm going to go and do the next shape. So I want his face to kind of stretch out. I don't want this open anymore, but I do want this U shape. And I want those corners to come down, so I can kind of bring that down. And I'm going to close the jaw up a little bit so I can get a little bit tighter ooh. So, like I said, I don't want to mess with it too much. And go back to the next frame. I'm going to grab all my controls, set a key. And I know I kind of want it pretty close to this shape. So what I can do is grab all the controls. I can hold down my middle mouse button over this frame. I can move it over to, still holding my middle mouse, over to the next frame. And if I hit S, you'll see a little result that happens. So you know something happened. And what I did was it was a copy and paste. So now it goes to the same exact key. I just copied and pasted a key over to frame 10. All right, and I'm going to go to frame 12 for my next frame. And this is where maybe I want a little scale. And make sure I grab everything, set a key. I'm gonna stretch my face down a little bit and move my tongue down. And one thing that I like to do when my mouth opens that wide, I want to have my corners kind of come in so I get a little squash and stretch in the mouth. So I can use this corner back and kind of bring it in the negative. And I can also kind of pull down on the smile a little bit. And I think that actually was on frame 13. So what I'm doing now is if I shift hold, if I shift and then click, then on this frame it'll turn red and I can grab it and move it over. Okay, let me check my frames. All right, then frame 17. I go to my frame 17, set a key, and I'm going to copy and paste again. And I can make this a little bit different. I can kind of make it just a little. It's nice to give a little bit of variety to the different shapes. So I can go back in there and do that. Now I'm going to play blast quickly. And my movie file will come up. Good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck. And so that's a quick way to do dialogue. And if I want to, I can go in there and I can make some adjustments to those curves if I don't like exactly how it's looking. And I can also go back in and kind of layer in different controls and some different things for the rest of the face. So I can grab the eyes and make them kind of dart over to look at me. And let me get the graph editor out here so I can go in there and clean that up. And if I want to put an expression in his eyebrows, then I can go scroll down here in the bottom, and I have different eyebrow shapes. So I can use those and so if I want to layer in a few little extras and Play Blast, I can do that as well. Good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck. So, and it's a good starting point. I can begin to refine at that point and add in blinks, and if I want to tilt his head, I can do that. But I can always go back to those individual pieces and I can work on that. And my dialogue remains the same on his mouth. Okay, I'm going to go over to Pencil now and explain the assignment using limited animation in Pencil. And the Pencil is pretty buggy, and we've discovered some of those through the class. The version of Pencil that I think works the best with sound is this version here, which is actually the old version. And I know some of you were having a problem with the images disappearing, and this is the version that was happening in. And so the sound doesn't load in very well on the new version. At least it doesn't on Windows. It might work pretty well on Mac, but I would recommend, if you didn't have a problem with this version, to go ahead and use the older version of Pencil. So if you are starting to get frustrated and it's not working, then you might want to consider doing it in Maya, or you can email me and we can try and work out a solution. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to import in the sound. And then that is going to be an error. You can go to this little plus and create a new sound layer and go to the frame one. It usually will bring it in there anyway, but go to import sound, and I'm going to go to find my sound file. I've had the best luck with a WAV file. Sometimes it'll say you can bring in and other versions. It hasn't worked as well for me. So now, if I have my sound on, I'll hit play and I realize nothing's happening. And that's because I have to go to the end here, or someplace on my bitmap player, and create a key as sort of the marker for my end. Good luck. So now I can play it through. Now I don't have a real indication. When I move along the timeline, I don't hear the sound like I do in Maya, which is why I think it's good in Maya to find out where your sound is, your frames are. So we've done that. So on one layer, I'm going to create a bitmap layer, and I'm going to do a quick drawing of my character. And just going to really quickly draw this little guy out. And I don't want to draw everything on this layer. I want to leave the mouth actually off of this layer. I want to do the mouth on a separate layer, and that's doing the limited animation that we talked about in class. So I might put the nose on there, and I can spend actually a good amount of time, because I'm going to use this drawing layer a good bit. So Not the best drawing in the world, but it will suffice for our purposes. Now I'm going to create a new bitmap layer, and it's going to put me down at the bottom. I want to bring it up. I'm going to name this as my head layer, and then I'm going to name this as my mouth layer. On my mouth layer, I want to create a key. And on frame 1, I'm going to draw my mouth. And then on frame 6, I'm going to do that little open G. And then on frame 8, create a key, and I want to do my OO. And then on frame 10, I'll do frame 11. I'm going to create that sort of closed D again. And take onion skin off for a second. So I can see the mouth starting to work. And frame 13 is my big open mouth. And put the teeth in there. And put my tongue in there. And then on frame 17, I'm going to put in my last pose. So now, if I play it, good luck, then I get the same kind of effect. Good luck. And I can export out my image sequence and have all of my images come through, and then I will be able to line up the sound with the images and make a movie file for you. So hopefully all of that helps and makes sense. If you have any questions, you can email me, but good luck, and I'll see you next week.